This week, a mother is repeatedly stabbed while shielding her 3-year-old daughter. Plus, a major drug and gun trafficking ring is busted in Queens.
Anytime you can get a drug dealer or drugs off the street, that's a wonderful thing.
And yet another case of vandalism at the historic Stonewall Monument. Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. Here are the crimes across the 5 boroughs. We begin this week in Brooklyn, where the man accused of stabbing a subway rider to death in self-defense is released without bail.
What are you gonna do? What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Take a shower.
A smiling Jordan Williams walks out of a Brooklyn court Thursday surrounded by family and friends. The 20-year-old charged with manslaughter, but told he isn't a flight risk, so he can sleep at home.
Today the system worked, I think, and it really does.
Williams stabbed Victor Odriogo in the chest Tuesday after Odriogo allegedly punched Williams' girlfriend in the face. The situation not totally unlike that of Daniel Penny when he attempted to disarm Jordan Neely with a chokehold. Instead, Neely died of asphyxiation. Williams' attorney had this to say as his client walked out of court.
I think him being charged right away and held was obviously different than how Mr. Penny was released and had a few weeks and then had to voluntarily surrender himself.
But do you think that was racist?
That was a big difference, but then we saw the difference today where they asked for the same amount that Daniel Penny's bail was, and this judge released my client. So I can't applaud the court system enough.
Both Penny and Williams' cases have their similarities, but according to criminal defense attorney Arthur Aidala, there is one major difference.
The knife is a deadly weapon. So right from the very beginning, it's a very different set of circumstances. So that's one point. The second point is Mr. Penny stayed there and basically answered questions right away, whereas this individual stayed on the train and left.
And then there's the question of force. In both cases, the court must decide what's the appropriate response to violence or threats of violence. Former federal prosecutor Doug Burns explains.
A defendant is allowed to use force equal to the force presented. However, if there comes a time when the threat of force against the defendant abates, it's gone, it stops, then they must desist and stop.
Then in Queens, police say a major million-dollar crime ring with gang ties is off the streets.
It's a beautiful day here at Rufus King Park, but residents tell us it's a very different place after dark when illicit activities take over. Now the Queens DA and the NYPD say a major gun and drug bust will restore a sense of safety for residents who like to use this green space after dark.
Very different place at nighttime. Nighttime, you're going to see everything out here.
Authorities say residents will be seeing a lot less violence and open-air drug sales in Rufus King Park in Jamaica, Queens, now that a major million-dollar criminal ring with ties to the Latin Kings has been taken off the streets. An 18-month investigation led to the arrests of 8 men.
The ringleader, Adrian Escobar, faces about 150 years in jail, to the lowest, which is probably around 3 years.
This was a long-term investigation involving narcotics and our gang unit, our violent crime squad in Queens South detectives.
On a sunny June day, it's obvious how much this park means to the people here.
Anytime you can get a drug dealer or drugs off the street, I mean, that's great. That's a wonderful thing.
Police say the ring allegedly sold many types of drugs, including pills, ecstasy, Adderall, cocaine, and fentanyl, and also sold guns, some of which were purchased by undercover detectives who risked their lives to get them off the streets.
They spent an enormous amount of time in this area identifying people that were responsible for not only carrying firearms and selling narcotics, but also selling firearms.
I've been over here for almost 7 years on this park, and before it was really bad, but it's improving.
The defendants range in age from 18 to 43 and come from here in Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Hicksville, Long Island. They're presumed innocent until proven guilty, but both the Queens DA and police say they have the evidence to make a strong case.
Over in Greenwich Village, police are looking for the vandals who targeted pride flags near the Stonewall Inn.
Twice in less than a week, gay pride flags at Christopher Park, part of the National Stonewall Monument, targeted. The NYPD investigating the vandalism.
I feel sad that people hate us so much.
These men are wanted in connection to the first incident on Saturday around 3 a.m. Detectives say they walked by the park, took down several flags, and snapped them in half. Detectives say sometime Thursday, the same kind of thing happened. This time, though, only the blue, pink, and white flags representing the transgender community were targeted.
They just went down the line and they broke off all of the trans flags.
Stephen Love Menendez installed and maintains the flags.
It was such a targeted vandalism that happened, attack on the monument, because they specifically only took down the trans flags.
The park sits right across from the Stonewall Inn, the bedrock of the gay rights movement in New York City. In 1969, what would go down in history as the Stonewall Uprising. Police raided the inn and it led to clashes between law enforcement and activists.
I think that's pretty messed up. I don't know why people would come around in this community, especially when we're so welcoming to everyone. I mean, Stonewall Inn's literally right there.
Things like this are a reminder of the fact that we are still under attack.
The incidents in City Council member Eric Botcher's district. He tweeted this video after the first incident over the weekend.
Every time something like this happens, there needs to be accountability and there needs to be a message sent that this is not okay.
Back in Brooklyn, a mother is stabbed over and over while trying to protect her daughter.
A woman is in custody this morning accused of stabbing a mother who was pushing her baby in a stroller. Now, this happened Monday afternoon in downtown Brooklyn. Police say 25-year-old LaQuisaya Lauren started threatening to harm a 3-year-old girl in a stroller. The mother stepped in between them and was stabbed several times in the chest and the legs. Paramedics rushed that victim to the hospital, and she is expected to be okay. Lawrence is facing attempted murder and assault charges.
Now to the Bronx, where a teen shoots an MTA conductor in the face with a BB gun.
Police are searching for the person who shot an MTA subway conductor in the face with a BB gun. It happened on June 6th around 4:30 in the afternoon at the 138th Street and 3rd Avenue subway station. That's the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. According to investigators, the conductor stuck her head out of the train to do a safety check when she was shot with one round. Now, police say they believe the shooter is between 12 and 14 years old. The image is here. The conductor was taken to the hospital in what's described to us as stable condition. If you have any information, call Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-800-577-TIPS.
And finally, in Lower Manhattan, the search is on for the suspect in an attempted rape on the subway.
Police say the suspect approached the 29-year-old victim on a southbound J train at the Chambers Street station. This happened last Friday night. Investigators say the suspect punched the victim, pinned her to the ground, and tried to take off her clothes and forcibly remove the victim's cell phone, money, and keys. The woman was able to get to safety. She was taken to an area hospital, but if you recognize anything, any part of this suspect, call Crime Stoppers. That number is 800-577-TIPS.